And now we are also live on Facebook. So, any of you guys out there in the Facebook world, thanks for joining in to today's workout. You guys can see the countdown timer. We're going to be getting started in just a bit over 4 minutes for our Power Watts home workout number 16 called Touch and Go. And so, Professor, everybody today, they're going to ride kind of like you. There's going to be many elements where everyone's going to have to look away from the screen or their watts are going to be hidden from them and they have to ride by feel. So we'll see if Miss Piggy has as good of a feel as you do for these type of efforts. And hopefully my sound on Facebook is good today. And hopefully my sound on Facebook is good today. Okay, I'm pretty sure it is. I just did a little sound test. Last time the sound didn't quite work out, so unfortunately we don't have that one recorded. All right, guys, so we're good to go. All right. So, Mean Gene, how are you feeling after your run yesterday? Yeah? No problem? So yeah, I mean it's like a rest day almost. This being your first workout of the day. It- oh yeah, it's are the pools going to open or just warm enough outside for that? Okay, so the lake will be warm enough, or you just put your wetsuit on, I guess, and go for a swim. Oh, amazing, amazing. I'm sure, I'm sure you're very excited about that. Maybe you can invite Sting and her crew out to go for an open water swim with you, Mean Gene. What do you think about that, Sting? I'm sure everyone wants to swim in your house. Oh, they've been in the lake. And was it chilly? Wow. Wow. And what's the water temperature now? Yeah, must be. Are they in wetsuits? Wow, so you grease them up and throw them in the water. Yeah. Wow, that's a long time in the cold water. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I'm glad they're swimming. I'm sure they're very happy about that. Mark, what do you think? Do you think you'll go for a dip in the lake anytime soon? Yeah. I know I'm definitely not going in the water anytime soon. I try to avoid getting wet whenever possible. But we do have a couple swimmers on the line with us that like to get wet. Okay, guys, so we're going to be starting in 10 seconds. So just try to time your starts. And our first couple minutes here, we're going to be going. All right, so we're underway. Our first couple minutes, we're going to be going right away to a slightly higher cadence, or maybe for some of you it's a higher cadence. We're looking for, around 100 RPM for the first few minutes here. Let's say, between 90 and 110, somewhere in that window. So we get a little bit more leg speed going right off the top. And then for the remainder of the warm-up, we're going to be bouncing around between a higher cadence of 100 RPM and a lower cadence of 80 RPM, just so you guys get a feel for those cadences, because then we're going to be using those particular RPMs in our first exercise. In our first exercise, we're going to be keeping the power under control, 80%, 84%, 88%, and 92%, not super high, but we're going to be doing one segment at lower RPM, like 80, and then one segment at higher RPM, like 100. So you might find the power a little bit more challenging than usual to pedal at 100 RPM. And to make things interesting, you guys are going to be looking away from the screen at certain points during that first exercise. So Mark, you'll have to look away from the screen or just close your eyes. And Miss Piggy, Sting, and Mean Gene, your gauge is actually going to hide from the screen during Watts Hidden segments. So you guys are going to practice maintaining your power and your cadence the exact same, even when the screen goes blank. And those of you guys at home on Facebook, if you're riding on Zwift or you're riding on Trainer Road, make sure that you guys close your eyes or look away from the screen during those Watts Hidden segments. The goal here today is to see how well your feel is for these aerobic powers between 80 and 92%. Then we're going to practice how well your feel is for anaerobic surges, powers between 120 and 160%. And then we're going to put the two of them together and see how well you're able to go from a high power to a lower power without seeing the watts, and how well you're able to go from a low power to a high power without seeing the watts. And then we're going to finish the workout at the end with something a little bit different. So we're going to be really focusing on internal sensations today, the feel of how fast your legs are pedaling, the feel of the pressure underneath your feet, and you'll be able to get the feedback when the screen comes back on, or in your case, Mark, when you open your eyes, you'll see if your average watts stayed in check, or if you went a bit too high, or if you went a bit too low. So we're going to be really practicing that. So the challenge today is not so much that the powers are very difficult to reach. That might be the case for our final drill today. The challenge is your ability to sustain the powers without feedback. So it's going to take a different type of concentration. So that's going to be the main goal of our workout today. So, Miss Piggy, do you have any suggestions on how to approach that? Yeah, when the screen's going to be off, what do you do when we used to do this at Power Watts? What did you think about? You have to sing a song in your head. Maybe if you sing out loud, especially if you sing Baby Shark, we know that's going to help out Mark. Mind you, if you do that, though, his watts might just go up too high. So I guess you will maybe have to sing in your head after all. So I guess the song helps you keep your rhythm, helps you keep your cadence the same, more or less. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's another way, counting the pedal strokes. All right, guys, so let's go up to 60% watts. All right, so we're up to 60% watts. And now we're going to go down to 80 RPM. So we're going to try lower RPM for a bit. And then we're going to bounce around between 1 minute at 80 RPM and 1 minute at 100 RPM. So Mean Gene, I know that you love to play the Watts Hidden game in studio to see how accurate you could be. Do you have any tricks up your sleeve? How do you go about it? Ah! You want to make sure that you continue always getting those first places. So you try not to overthink it. You try to just trust your sensations and stick to it. All right, that's another good way. Do you focus more on how fast your legs are spinning, how fast you're pushing on the pedals, or none of that at all? Okay, so you focus on your internal effort, your gauge of effort. Well, there you go, guys. That's a good technique that you can also use during the Watts Hidden efforts. So the goal now is 100 RPM, guys. So we're still at about 60% watts, and then try to adjust the gears to get as close to 100 RPM as you can. So, Mark, do you like it at Power Watts when the watts hide from the screen? Do you like those drills? Okay, so I guess you'll just have to maybe close your eyes or look down and then look up every every 15 seconds or so to see. All right, guys, so let's go to 80 RPM. And how about you, Sting? Do you like the watts hidden game? You do? Oh! So that... Well, that's interesting. Wow, okay, so you almost approach it like a dancer watching their rhythm in the mirror, trying to keep that same rhythm. Well, that's an interesting technique. I never thought of that one. All right, guys, so let's go to about 100 RPM. So everyone gear maybe 2 gears easier, 3 gears easier to get the leg speed up a bit. So now that I know that trick, Sting, I'll have to keep an eye to see if if anyone else uses that one. That's a good one, though. You have revealed your secret today. And Professor, so I know that you're training without watts today, so you could just continue to focus on internal sensation like you have been for the last little while. How do you go about it in terms of internal sensation? So you try not to overthink it and you keep just that pressure in the legs as consistent as you can? Well, that's a good strategy, Professor, and you're definitely one of the steadiest guys around. All right, guys, so now let's go to 70% and 80 RPM. So just to give you a bit more of an overview of what we're doing today, on that first drill, I kind of already mentioned we're going to be practicing the watts hidden at aerobic powers, so 80%, 84%, 88%, and 92%. When we're at 80% and 88%, we're going to practice the feel at those powers at low cadences. So at 80 RPM, just like you're practicing now. And then at the other two, when you guys are at 84% and at 92%, we're going to be practicing the feel at 100 RPM. So the sensation is quite different whether you're pedaling slow and pedaling fast, and we'll see which one gives you guys a steadier power output when you're looking away from the screen or you're unable to see your watts. All right, guys. So now we're about to go to 80%, 100 on the RPM. So a bit higher on the power, a bit higher on the cadence. On the second drill, what we're going to be doing is 5 times 30 seconds with 1 minute rest in between. The first 30 seconds is at 120%. And you're going to see your gauge the whole time, or you're going to look at your screen the whole time. And then the last 4, the idea is to look away from the screen for the entire 30 seconds and see if you can increase your power output by about 10% over the previous one. So, for example, the second one, you'll see if you can do 30 seconds at 130% without seeing the gauge whatsoever. There's not even a 5 or 10 second period for you to settle in. You got to right away go to it. So that's to challenge your ability to accelerate to a particular power output. And you can imagine that's going to be pretty challenging. So that's a very different way to work on the feel. So we'll see how that one goes. Okay, so let's go to 90% and 80 on the RPM, guys. So lower on the RPM. Working that slightly lower cadence again. And then the final minute of the warm-up is going to be at 100% and at 100 on the RPM. And the last piece, or the second to last drill, we're going to be doing 1 minute at an aerobic power, like 80%. Then you guys are going to do a 30-second surge. Also, you'll do the opposite. You'll start with a 30-second surge, and then you'll go down to an aerobic power for a minute. And there, the gauge is going to hide at the moment that you switch the power. It's going to hide when you go from the low power to the high power, and it's going to hide when you go from the high power to the low power. So that's going to challenge your ability, your feel, to change from one level of output to another level of output. So let's go to 100% and 100 RPM. So the first one is just about your ability to stay steady when the screen goes off. The second one is your ability to accelerate to a particular target power. And the third one is your ability to increase or decrease your power output without seeing any feedback from the screen. So these are 3 different techniques that are going to challenge your ability to feel the power output underneath your feet. Those of you guys that are riding on the app, you'll see all the results in your report. That's just beside your gauge. Also, at the end of all the watts hidden segments, you'll see, you'll get your score of how much time you were in the green when the screen was hidden, just like you see when you're at Power Watts. So that'll help you know how effectively you held your watts steady when the screen went off. Okay, so we got a couple more seconds, guys, and then we have a 2.5 minute break before we start our first drill. So 3, 2, 1, and back it off. Okay, so great start. Good warm-up, guys. And the last drill, I didn't mention anything about it yet, but that last drill, you guys are going to be doing 15-second surges with 1 minute recovery, active recovery in between at 70%. Then you're going to do another 15-second surge. Then you're going to get 45 seconds of active recovery. Then 15-second surge, 30 seconds recovery. So the recovery gets progressively shorter, down to only 15 seconds. And then after that, in the second half of the drill, the recovery periods get longer and longer and longer. But the 15-second surge power target gets higher and higher and higher. And you're not going to see your gauge at all for the last 4 15-second surges. So you're going to have to practice surging without seeing your watts on the screen, knowing that your goal is to go slightly higher on each power output. So it should be pretty interesting. What happens for a lot of riders is when the screen goes hidden, their power output goes up because, interestingly, sometimes when you're not focusing on the gauge, the perceived exertion goes down a little bit, so your power output goes up a little bit. So you end up overdoing it a little bit when the gauge is hidden. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen to you guys when we practice these efforts that are coming up. Okay, so for you, Mark, I know that you're riding on Zwift. So the way we've broken this down here is you have 40 seconds with the power and cadence target, and then 40 seconds where it's going to be hidden. So during that second 40 seconds, Mark, what you could do is just close your eyes or look down so you're not looking directly at your power output. And I'll call out, after, 30 seconds, 35 seconds, you can look up to see if your power has gone up or gone down or stayed about the same. And then after the 40 seconds of watts hidden, there's another 40 seconds where you guys are going to restabilize back at the target. So if you were too high or if you were too low, that gives you 40 seconds to settle back in to make the correction. Okay, so let's try this first one here. So we're going to go to 80% and 80 RPM. So 3, 2, 1, and let's go up to 80%, 80 RPM. And it's 40 seconds where you're going to see the screen, 40 seconds where you look away from the screen, and then 40 seconds where you see the screen again. But you're always trying to stay at 80% and 80 RPM. Sting, I saw you got off the bike. Did you go get a mirror or something to put in front of your knees? Oh yeah, because I thought maybe you're trying to get your cheat technique ready. All right, guys. No. Okay, so the gauges are going to hide, or Mark, look away from the screen and focus on your power, focus on your cadence, try to keep it the same. You guys can see on my screen beside me the gauge has hidden. And those of you guys using the Power Watts app, the gauge will be hidden as well. And Mark, good work. Just keep looking away from the screen, maybe peeking up every now and then just to make sure you didn't sway too far away. So now in 10 seconds, you guys, everyone's going to see the gauge again. And Mark, make sure you look back up at the screen and make any corrections you need to. You might have to bring your power up or your power down a bit to hold 80%. Okay, so here we go. Screens are back on. And Miss Piggy, Sting, and Mean Gene, you can see the little score right below the gauge, how much time you spent in the green. So that'll help you guys know if your power was too high or too low. You guys can also see in your little report how you did. So everyone settle back into 80%, 80 RPM. This last 40 seconds is key because it allows you to readjust if you're too high or too low. And that's going to give you guys the stimulus that you need to know if you have to put out a bit more power, a bit less power when the gauges are hidden. So now we're going to do the same thing again, except at 84% and 100 RPM. So here we go, guys. 84% and 100 RPM. So just take a quick peek at the cadence. So Sting, you'll have to do it by feel. Mean Gene, I see maybe your cadence. I don't have your cadence on my screen. Oh, there we go. It's back. Good. So that's good, Mean Gene. And Miss Piggy, get as close to 100 as you can. You might be a bit above it, a bit below it. Mark, that looks good. Keep it up. So now in 10 seconds, everyone look away from the screen and see if you can sustain the same rhythm. So 3, 2, 1, and now try to hold that 84%. You might find it easier at the higher cadence. You might find it harder at the higher cadence. You'll know when you see your score. Good. Keep it up, Mark. Those of you guys that naturally tend to lower RPMs will probably find this 84% at 100 RPM a little bit more challenging. But it's good practice of aerobic development at the higher cadence. So great focus, guys. Well done, Sting, Miss Piggy, Professor, Mean Gene, and Mark. Now, don't change anything, guys. Keep your rhythm the same. Now you have 40 seconds to make any additional adjustments that you need to. Okay, so screens are back up. So those of you guys on the app, take a look at your little donut below the gauge to see your score on 100%, and you can take a look at your average power, average cadence in the report card. And we're still at 100 RPM, guys. So it's 2 minutes total time at 100 RPM, which some of you might not be comfortable with. So just keep it up, Mark. Good. Nice leg speed, Mean Gene. Miss Piggy and Professor, good work. So Professor, just try to match Miss Piggy's leg speed. Sting, that looks good. All right, guys. So now 80 on the RPM, 88 on the percent. So we're going to do the same drill, slightly higher power, but way down on the cadence. So take a few seconds here to get that cadence down. And we'll see how your feel is this time at the lower cadence. Those of you guys that are using the app, take a look at what your percent time in the green is. So maybe you remember what it was at 100 RPM. You remember what it was at 80 RPM. Now we're going to do 80 RPM again. So that way you guys will know if you're better at the higher or at the lower cadence, because we can use that later on in the workout. And I'll ask you guys when the drill is done which you were better at. Okay, so now everyone look away from the screen. 88%, 80 RPM, eyes closed or looking straight down, and practice keeping your rhythm the same. Often the tendency is for the power to go up a little bit. Sometimes the slightly lower RPM gives you a better feel of the pressure underneath your feet, avoiding any spikes in power. Okay, so we got a couple more seconds here. 5 more seconds. And then just keep your rhythm. Keep 88%, 80 RPM, and take 10 seconds to adjust up or down if you strayed away from the target. Good, so well done, guys. Everyone's right back at about that 88%, 80 on the RPM. And then our final 2-minute block. It's going to be 2 minutes at 92% and 100 RPM. Again, broken up into 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 40 seconds. And that's going to really work. It's a great exercise actually to develop your general endurance, your general aerobic abilities to ride at these kind of power outputs, especially the higher cadence that we're about to do. So here we go, guys. You have 40 seconds here to find your rhythm. So get to 92%, get to 100 on the RPM or as close as you can. Let's say anything between 95 and 105. And then either focus on the internal sensation of effort, focus on the pressure in your legs, focus on how rapidly your knees are moving, or sing a song in your head, just like Miss Piggy would. So we're going to be hiding the screen in 10 seconds, guys. Last opportunity to practice this steady state watts hidden. So 3, 2, 1, and watts are hidden. So try not to change anything. Close your eyes, look away from the screen. Keep working that rhythm. It's good to also learn to get a feel for that 92%. This is the point at which your battery usually starts to drain. For those of you guys that remember the battery-based drills that we do at Power Watts. So if you learn the feel of this 92%, you could stay a little bit below it when you ride outside to avoid burning energy until it's time, like on an uphill or into a headwind or something. So a couple more seconds, guys. Now stay at 92%, stay at 100 RPM for another 40 seconds, and make whatever adjustments you need to get back on target in case you strayed a little bit. And again, that's that key piece. When you go from the watts hidden to the watts showing, to quickly make that adjustment, that's what's giving you guys that feedback that you need so that your body relearns or learns the feel of the power and cadence combination. So we're almost there, guys. Some of you might be finding this challenging with the higher cadence. Then we got a 2.5 minute recovery period. So great aerobic development exercise, guys, and let's find out how you did on the watts hidden. All right, so let's take a little break. So just first up, so Mark, how did you find that last 2 minutes at the high RPM, at the 100 RPM? Good rhythm there at the higher cadence. Good exercise. And did you look away from the screen a few times? Yeah. Oh, that's true. So you're on a course. That makes it extremely challenging. But good work, Mark. So great aerobic development drill. Nice cadence at the end. So Mean Gene, how do you do? Oh, okay. Your computer screen's a bit too far away from your bike, I guess, to see the report card. Okay. But good. Well done, Mean Gene. On my end, it looked pretty consistent. Sting, how did you do on that exercise? Were you able to see your scores in the report card? And you were pretty close to the targets? Oh, wow. Okay, that's great. You give Mean Gene a run for her money because she's always at 100% when the watts are hidden. Great work, Sting. Yeah, so maybe the reflection is just throwing you off, you know? Who needs a reflection when you got such a good kinesthetic awareness, right? And Miss Piggy, how'd it go for you? And were you able to see your scores on the app? Were you close to 100% in the green? All right, excellent. So I'm really glad everyone had a good feel at those aerobic powers. Now we're going to challenge your feel at the anaerobic powers. So we have 5 times 30 seconds coming up here. The first one is at 120%. And look at the screen the whole time. The gauge is going to be showing the whole time. Learn the feel of 120%. Focus on both the acceleration and on the sustaining of it. Yes, Miss Piggy? It's your choice, however you want to go about it. Okay, guys, so first one at 120%. So 3, 2, 1, and here we go. So keep an eye on your average watts for this segment. Get that average to 120% and then learn the feel of it. And now keep in mind that the prime objective of this exercise is to go up by 10% on the next one without seeing anything, to see how well you have a feel for that anaerobic power, that building of the anaerobic power. So 3, 2, 1, and good work, guys. Okay, so back it off. So you have a feel, and the rest periods are a minute. So the rest periods is plenty. Of course, when we get to the higher powers, so because we're going to go 120, we just did it, 130, 140, 150, 160. The 150, 160 will be pretty challenging physically, but right now the real challenge is the technique of it. So now the goal is 30 seconds at 130%, and the gauge is going to hide right away. Mark, if you want to play around with this one, you could just kind of close your eyes for the first 25 seconds and then look up to see what your power output was for the last 5 seconds, just to get an idea if you have a feel for that acceleration. Okay, so very different. You have no time to settle into the 130. You got to do it based on feel, only knowing the level of effort you just did at 120%. So let's give it a try, guys. 3, 2, 1, and up to 130%. Okay, so gauge is hidden or eyes closed, looking away from the screen. And so different strategies. You know, you guys could stay in the same gear and pedal a little bit faster. You can go one gear harder to make sure that the power goes up just by a little bit. Okay, so great work, guys. And let's back it off. And so take a look at the averages. So Mean Gene, you might not be able to see your average. So I had you at 136%. So that's quite good, Mean Gene. And Miss Piggy and Sting, if you guys are able to see your average, you'll have a pretty good idea if you're able to go up by that 10% or not. Okay, so now, little break. And now we're going to do 30 seconds at 140%. So we want to go up by another 10%. If you go up by more than 10%, that's fine too. But see if you can get that feel for 10% given what you guys just did. But the key thing is that there is going to be, the goal is for there to be an increase in the power output. Okay, so everyone, get a little bit of momentum. Let's go up to maybe 50, 60%. And I really want you to wait till the gauge is high or until you close your eyes to do the acceleration to challenge that particular skill. All right, so 3, 2, 1, and let's go, guys. Up to 140%. Takes a little bit more juice here, a little bit more oomph into the pedals to get to the 140%. And again, you can stay in the same gear and pedal faster, or you can go one gear harder, something to increase the level of exertion just a little bit. So keep it up, guys. Make your prediction of how accurate you were. So 3, 2, 1, and back it off. And Mean Gene, I had you at 156%. So you went up again, but that time you went up by a little bit more. So what you could do, Mean Gene, is you could try to reproduce exactly what you just did, because now the goal is 150%. And Sting and Miss Piggy, take a quick peek in your report card to see if you nailed it, or if you got at 140, and now if you got to go a bit higher at 150, or if you already did 150, just try to repeat it again. And Mark, just make sure you keep building on the effort on each subsequent rep here. So now the next two a little bit more challenging. So 30 seconds at 150, 1 minute rest, and then 30 seconds at 160. Okay, so everyone, get up some momentum. Let's go to 50, 60%. Get into a gear that you can accelerate with quickly, so it's not a slow acceleration. And 150 in 3, 2, 1, and here we go, guys. 150% watts on this one. Okay, so great starts. Definitely more effortful here. Keep that up, Mark. Well done, Sting, Miss Piggy, Professor. Excellent work, Mean Gene. Watts are building up here, guys. So Mean Gene and Mark are going with cadence, and Sting, Professor, Miss Piggy going with power up out of the saddle. All right, and let's back it off, guys. Very nice. So Mean Gene, I had you at 153%. So basically you did the same level of effort twice in a row, so that's fantastic. On this last one, let's go out. Let's see if we can go up to 160 or maybe even a little bit more. So on this last exercise, you guys can approach it one of two ways. There is a 2.5 minute recovery period after, so you can approach it one of two ways. You could say, I'm going to try to do exactly 160, or you could do a 30-second hard effort, and just before you see the average watts appear, make a guess as to what you think you did. So say if you say, oh, at 160, I want to go for 170 or 180, sure, you can go for it. Do it. Make that guess when there's only about 3 seconds left, and then you'll see the results. And in your case, Mark, let's go for a real solid 30 seconds at 160%. Okay, so let's get ready here, guys. So quick starts. 3, 2, 1, and here we go. Gauges are hidden. So you might go for exactly for the 160. You might choose to go a bit higher, but I want everybody to think about the pressure underneath the feet. Think about the cadence. And in about 5 seconds here, make your prediction of where you think you're at. So let's keep going. Make your prediction. And 3, 2, 1, and we're done. All right. So 2.5 minutes recovery. So, Mean Gene, what's your prediction? 165. You're at 173%. So well done, Mean Gene. So you went a little bit higher than you thought, but still good effort. You know that you went more than that 160. So well done, Mean Gene. So Sting, how'd that last one go? Yeah, I had you at 190 here, so you're definitely working hard. So your target was about 185, and you hit 190, so that's great to be within 5% of your goal. So well done, Sting. Great work. Miss Piggy, how was that for you? Oh, really? So you might need to increase the amount of tension on your trainer. You might be able to do that through the Tacx app, or there might be a setting on the back of your trainer when you can increase the resistance, because that particular exercise, you don't want to be completely out of gears at that point. So that's something that you could play around with on your trainer. Perfect. And Mark, how do you find that exercise, the 5 times 30 seconds? Okay, so you don't see the average. So I'll send you a little trick of something that you could do next time that'll help you be able to see the average watts during these efforts. I'll send you a little set of instructions that you could set up your Zwift so you could see your averages. All right, guys, so now next exercise. We're going to combine elements of the first drill and the second drill. So the first thing that we're going to do, 1 minute at 80%, and you're going to look at the watts. And then it's going to be 30 seconds at 120%, but the watts are going to hide. So this is your ability to feel an increase of 40% watts. And your goal is not to blow over the 120% and do like 150. Your goal is to go from 80 to 120, and the gauge is going to be hidden when you do that acceleration. So let's see how that goes here, guys. So let's go to 100%. So everyone up to 100% watts. There are no cadence targets on the aerobic powers this time. Before we were forcing 80 RPM or 100 RPM. So you might continue to choose a lower cadence, or you might go somewhere in the middle, 85, 90, 95 RPM, whatever feels best. And during the 30-second surge, there are no targets either. So you might choose to do it standing, you might choose to do it sitting, you might grind it, or you might pedal your legs a little bit faster. Technically, what might be a good thing to practice is to not change your gears right away, unless if you're planning on sitting, that is. Accelerate first, bring your power up first by increasing your cadence, and then go 1 gear harder. If you're going to do this standing up, just before you stand up, you'll probably go maybe 2 gears harder and then stand up to make sure that you have the resistance underneath your feet. Okay, so get ready, guys. We're going to 120%. No feedback on the screen. So look away, guys. 3, 2, 1. And accelerate up to 120%. So this is tricky here. Learning how to go up by 40% with no feedback from the screen. So keep it nice and smooth. Those of you guys using the app, make a prediction for what you think your power output currently is. So we're almost there. So 3, 2, 1, and we get a bit more than a minute on the recovery. Wow, so Miss Piggy and Sting almost bang on that 120%. Mean Gene, you're up at 135% on that one. So what you just did, actually, you can replicate because our next exercise is going to be 30 seconds at 130. And Mark, good. Nice transition from that lower power to the higher power. Now we're actually going to be trying the opposite, guys. The first 30 seconds, you're going to see the gauge. You're going to be going 130%. Then the gauge is going to hide, and you're going to do 1 minute at 84%. So the challenge here is not to increase your power when the screen is hidden. It's to decrease your power when the screen is hidden to 84% without going too high or without going too low. So this is very challenging, guys, but it's a really great way to learn that difference in feel between the anaerobic and the aerobic powers. So get ready to quickly accelerate to 130, and then when the 130 is done, we go down to 84. Okay, so kick it up. Whatever tactics you guys want here. For the initial 130, and the hidden segment is a whole minute. So you're going to have to figure out how you're going to break that down. You'll ease the watts down to what you think is 84% and then try to settle in there. So keep up the 130, guys. All right, and now 84 on the percent. 84 on the percent. This, you have to really try to trust your sensation. Normally, I mentioned earlier, riders tend to go a little bit too high on the power when the screen is hidden. So you can imagine being at a high power and then hiding the screen as you go to a low power usually will end up having people working a bit too hard. Okay, so keep this up, guys. You're going to get the feedback pretty soon. So 15 seconds to go. So Miss Piggy and Sting, you guys are just a smidge too high. Oh, you're getting there now, Sting. Mean Gene, I have you at 88%. Good. Keep that up, Mark. So 3, 2, 1, and back it off. So take a look at your scores on the app. And so naturally, I think people will go a little bit too hard when we do an exercise like that. So Sting and Mean Gene, you guys did a great job. You're just you're a little bit above the target. Sting and Miss Piggy and Mean Gene, you were really close to that target. And Mark, good transition from the high power to the low power. So now the last two here that we're going to do, similar thing. We're going to do 1 minute aerobic, 30-second surge, little break, then 30-second surge, 1 minute aerobic. The power targets are a little bit higher. So now we're going to do 1 minute at 88%, and then we're going to do 30 seconds at 140% with the watts hidden. So let's see how you guys do on this one. Aim to get exactly on that 140 when you're surging. Okay, so let's build up a bit of momentum. 88% in choice body position, choice cadence here, whatever feels comfortable. And then let's see how you do with the surge. And what we are doing, guys, it's very, very challenging to learn a feel for this. But as you guys learn these feels, it's extremely helpful when you ride outside or even at Power Watts when we do things like stage races, even though you have the gauge in front of you, to have that sense of internal feeling of how hard you're working will help prevent you from overdoing it, say, at the beginning of an effort. And it'll also help you become confident that you're working hard enough through the middle of a segment, like through the middle of a 20-minute time trial. So it's a really great exercise here, despite it being very difficult. Okay, so in 10 seconds, we're going to be going up to 140% for 30 seconds. So Mark, get ready. Miss Piggy, Sting, Mean Gene, let's bring those watts up to 140, and here we go. So looking away from the screen, guys, let's do this with no feedback. and then we'll see what your power output ends up being. Great focus, guys. Everyone's got that anaerobic power. Good way to be, Mark. Keep that up. We got less than 10 seconds to go, so make your prediction on how you're doing here. So 3, 2, 1, and back it off. Wow, fantastic efforts. Sting, Mean Gene, and Miss Piggy, all of you were within 5% of the target. So well done, guys. Maybe getting a little bit more challenging now as fatigue accumulates. The 1 minute recoveries here, though, are very helpful. And our final attempt at this now is 30 seconds at 150%, followed by 1 minute at 92%. So the 150, you guys get to see the screen. The 92%, you don't get to see the screen. And I really encourage you guys on this particular one to try to get as close to that 92% as you can. Rather than purposely, say, going over it, try to get as close to that 92% as you can. And we're going to have an opportunity in the next exercise to really go to some high powers if you guys feel that you got a bit of extra energy. But let's work on the precision on this one. So here we go, guys. Up to 150%. So 3, 2, 1. 150%. Great. Well done, guys. Great starts. And then we're going to be going down. Got to drop it by about 60%. Very tricky. The goal is going to be 92%. So everyone's looking good at the 150 here, guys. Keep it up, Mark. Keep it up, Mark. Now keep that foot pressure, guys, and ease it down to 92%. Gauge is gone, or look away from the screen, or close your eyes and see if you can get that 92%. So 92%, remember, that's that point when your battery starts to drain a little bit. Very important level of effort to learn the sensation of. Keep it up, Mark. Keep working that cadence, Mark. Maybe a gear easier. Looks like you're going up a hill here. So we got some good efforts going on. So we got another 20 seconds. Everybody just make a guess based on your perceived exertion. Are you at 92? Do you think maybe you're a little bit higher or a little bit lower? And we're going to see those results in a few seconds. And you can also, those of you guys using the app, you can see your percent time in the green. So 3, 2, 1, and back it off. So well done, guys. And so in your case, Mean Gene, you're averaged 100% for that last minute. So that's pretty darn close to that 92%. And Sting and Miss Piggy, you guys could take a quick peek in the report card to see how you did. So great effort. And Mark, way to be. You're working hard on that 150%. And then you settled in for that 1 minute 92%. Definitely a challenge to learn the feel of those differences in power. And after you do a drill like that, and hopefully everybody watching on Facebook or everyone riding on this at home becomes acutely aware of how easy it is to accidentally put out too much power when you're not looking, say, at your power meter. If you don't have a power meter outdoors, it doesn't take a lot for you to completely fry yourselves if you hit a small uphill and you hammer it hard if you're not focusing on doing exercises like this for the feel. So way to be, guys. So now we got one drill left, and our final drill includes elements of surges, and it includes elements of active recovery. So instead of aerobic power, we're going to call it an active recovery power. So the surges are 15 seconds at 130%, and the active recovery power is going to be 70%. So the 70% segments, at first, it's going to be 1 minute. Then it's going to be 45 seconds, then 30 seconds, then 15 seconds. And then it goes 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute. So then it goes back up. And the 15-second surges, the first 4 of them are at 130%. And then after that, they start to go up. But the last 4 surges, the idea is to look away from the screen or your gauge will be hidden for those of you guys using the app. and you're going to try to escalate the power up and up and up and up. And I want you guys to focus equally on the surge and on the active recovery power. So after the surge to say 130, try to go right to 70%. Try not to go down to like 50% to get a little bit of true recovery. Want to keep the recovery piece active. Okay, so let's get ready to go to 130%. It's our last exercise of the day. We're already there, guys. So let's get ready to get this bad boy started. So 3, 2, 1, and up to 150%. You could do it standing. You could do it with cadence. Whatever tactic works best for you. There's a total of 8 surges that you guys got to do over the course of this drill. So now take your time, watch your gauge, watch your power output, ease it down to about 70 on the percent. Good. And just refine that rhythm at 70%. So 70%, as the recovery periods get shorter and shorter here, you might not feel like you're getting any recovery. But the idea is here that you're riding actively and you're trying to kind of clear out some of those waste products that are accumulating during the surge. It actually teaches your body to recycle things like lactic acid and reuse them for energy doing exercises like this, which is why they're so valuable. And that's why you see a lot of them in the Power Watts program, actually. Okay, so hopefully everyone's feeling good after that minute at 70%. So next up, 15 seconds at 130% again. Choice strategy. We are going in 3, 2, 1, and up to 130%. So same level of surge. Good. Nice work, Miss Piggy. Nice work, Professor. Keep it up, Sting. Good way to be, Mark and Mean Gene. All right, and now let's ease it down to 70%. As you guys go from the high power to the low power, keep a good amount of pressure underneath your feet and just slowly decrease that cadence. And then once you've reached 70%, you'll probably go 1 or 2 or 3 gears easier so that you're not grinding too much. Okay, so let's keep it up now. So this one is 45 seconds at 70%. We're halfway through that. And then we got another surge at 130. So I want everyone just to try a slightly different surge tactic this time. If you've been sitting, try standing. If you've been standing, try sitting, just to mix it up. That way you'll get to see the difference in sensation. So 3, 2, 1, and here we go, guys. Good way to be, Mark. Keep it up, Mean Gene. Nice work, Sting and Miss Piggy and Professor. Okay, now right back to 70%. So now it's only 30 seconds. And then we got another 15 seconds at 130. So you guys, everyone tried a slightly different tactic that time, so that's good. So now on this next one, you probably know whether you want to be doing it sitting or standing. So do it in the way that you want and focus on the sensation of effort, because then the gauges are going to be hidden really soon. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Let's go up to 130%. So it's the last time you're doing 130% with the gauges showing. After this, you're going to have to do it by feel. Good way to be, Mark. Keep that up. Great work, Sting. Great work, Miss Piggy. All right, so let's ease it down to 70%. Now we're about to do 130% again. But you're going to get no feedback from the screen. Okay, so get ready. We're doing it again. 3, 2, 1, and let's go to 130. Good work, guys. That was the shortest recovery period, only 15 seconds, so you'll definitely feel the effects here. Keep working that 130, guys. Okay, now back down to 70. So you have 30 seconds at 70%, and then we do another 15-second surge. And in the 15-second surge, your goal is to go about 10% higher. And each of the subsequent surges that are coming up, you want to go higher and higher and higher on the power output. Okay, and we'd say about 10%. You might choose to do a bit more, depending on how you feel. So get ready, guys. 3, 2, 1, and go. All right, Mark, out of the saddle. Way to be. Keep working that high power output. So gauges are hidden here, guys, so work on that effort. So 3, 2, 1, and back it off, guys. Okay, so now we're at 45 seconds at 70%. So there's 2 surges left. Your goal is to get a higher power on each subsequent one. We have as the targets 150 and 160. But if you got a bit of extra juice, you got a bit of extra energy, I want you to push really hard on this next 15-second one. And then on the final 15-second one, do like a 15-second sprint to try to go higher and higher. But make sure that you're able to do the 70% in between to get this active recovery benefit that we're working on here. Okay, so get ready, guys. So 150% or more, a real hard surge, a real hard effort. So we're going in 3, 2, 1, and kick it up. All right, Mark, super job. Keep it up, Mean Gene. Way to be, Sting and Miss Piggy. Great work, guys. Wow, hell of an effort there, Mean Gene. So let's back it off. Sting, great power output. Miss Piggy, great power output. Okay, now hold the 70. Hold the 70, guys. Don't go below the 70. Keep that foot pressure. And the final 15 seconds, looking away from the screen here, just go as hard as you can for 15 seconds, and then we're done. I'll call out when there's about 5 seconds left so you can make a prediction as to how close you were to the to make a prediction of what your power output was, and then you can take a look up to see how close you are to your prediction. Okay, but now this one I want it to be really hard, harder than what you just did in terms of that effort, and let's see what you're able to pull off. So we got 20 more seconds of this active recovery here, spinning the legs, learning to recycle some of those waste products, and giving a real big finish in 10 seconds. So look at the gears, guys. Get to maybe around, 70, 80 RPM. That way you can accelerate real quick. So here we go. Last effort of the day. 3, 2, 1, and go, guys. Let's go. Drive down to those pedals. Drive the knees up. Good. Everyone's out of the saddle. Everyone's going for it. Way to be, Sting. Keep it up, Sting. You're over 200%. Mean Gene over 200%. Keep going, Miss Piggy. All right, guys, and back it off. And great finish, Mark. Way to be. Way to put that effort in. And super job, Professor. You definitely look like you're working hard there to get the intended training benefits of that exercise. So that is it, guys. The workout is already done. What do you know? It flew by. So great final exercise. Great final acceleration. Sting, you look like you worked hard on that last one. How you feel, Sting? Over 200% on that last 15 seconds. That's fantastic, Sting. Well done. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. It kind of makes things a bit more stressful, right? Just a little bit. Learning how to contend with the stress, too, is also part of the training. But that was a fantastic final effort, Sting. Really happy to see how your watts progressed up on those 15-second efforts. And how do you feel, Mean Gene? You're over 200% on that last 15 seconds. And you had a really nice progression. Did you feel the 70% kind of was okay in terms of an active recovery for you? All right, fantastic. Great job today, Mean Gene. Well done. So, Mark, how did you find that last exercise with the 15-second surges? It was fine. I was really glad to see you up out of the saddle working hard on those last few surges there. Really well done. So, great session today, Mark. Excellent work. And Miss Piggy and Professor, how did you guys find that last drill? You're able to put out a lot more oomph, I guess, in 15 seconds. Bit of a harder acceleration. Well done, Miss Piggy. Professor, how did you find that last drill? Oh, wait, say that again, Professor? Sorry, I had you muted. Could you say it again? Okay. So I'll have to keep that in mind for next time. Maybe make those 15 seconds a smidge longer. So way to be, guys. Great work today. So just the quick recap. We were practicing the feel of these different power outputs, how to keep a steady power when the watts are hidden, how to accelerate to a particular power output without feedback, and on how to go from one power output to another power output without feedback. So 3 different skills in terms of developing your feel for the pedaling. Super valuable training. Hopefully all of you guys doing this at home were able to look away from the screen or close your eyes while you were doing it. And I really encourage you guys to add these type of exercises into any training that you guys do at home, even outside of the Power Watts at Home program. Practice looking away from the screen for a period of time and predicting your power output. That way you guys don't become a slave to the power meter. You'll learn how to pace yourselves through internal sensations, and that's actually the best thing that you guys could do for your long-term development as cyclists. So great ride today, guys. So thanks so much for everyone for joining on Facebook. So I'm going to sign off on Facebook. So we'll be back again Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for anybody that wants to join in. So thanks so much for joining on Facebook, guys, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday.